I wanted to share a little opinion piece by Paul Craig Roberts, who is hardly a flaming liberal or leftist. In fact, he was employed by the Reagan administration as one of the economic advisors to that administration. But he has since changed his mind about certain policies. And so this was actually an editorial for several independent newspapers. Didn't appear in the mainstream, of course, as you might imagine, and it was intended as a Christmas message, I guess. So the first paragraph states, at Christmas time, it has been my habit to write a column in remembrance of the many innocent people in prisons whose lives have been stolen by the U.S. criminal justice system that is as inhumane and as indifferent to justice as anything you can probably imagine. Usually I retell the cases of William Strong and Christopher Gaynor, two men framed in the state of Virginia by prosecutors and judges as wicked and corrupt as those who served under Hitler or Stalin. This article, by the way, is entitled "The Great American Lockup," with the subtitle, "We Are All Prisoners Now." This year is different. All Americans are now imprisoned in a world of lies and deception created by the Bush regime and the two complicit parties of Congress, by federal judges too timid or too ignorant to recognize a rogue regime running roughshod over the Constitution, by a bought and paid for media that serves as propagandists for a regime of war criminals, and by a public who have forsaken their founding fathers altogether. Americans are also imprisoned by fear, a false fear created by the hoax of terrorism. It has turned out that the headline terrorist events since 9/11 have been orchestrated by the U.S. government. For example, the alleged terrorist plot to blow up Chicago's Sears Tower was the brainchild of an FBI agent who searched out a few disaffected people to give lip service to the plot devised by another FBI agent. He arrested his victims, whose trial ended in acquittal and mistrial. That, of course, doesn't make it to the headlines when the trial turns out that way. Many Europeans regard 9/11 itself as an orchestrated event. Former cabinet members of the British, Canadian, and German governments and the chief of staff of the Russian army have publicly expressed their doubts about the official 9/11 story. Recently, a former president of Italy, Francesco Cossiga, said in an interview with the newspaper Corriere del Sierra on November the 30th of 2007 that democratic elements in America and Europe, with the Italian center-left in the forefront, now know that the 9/11 attack was planned and executed by the American CIA and Mossad in order to blame the Arab countries and to persuade the Western powers to undertake military action both in Iraq and Afghanistan, or, for that matter, the entire Middle East. It is unclear whether Cossiga was being sarcastic about the opinion of skeptics or merely reporting what people think. I have written to him, and this is Paul Craig Roberts speaking here. I have written to him asking him for clarification and will report a reply any reply that I receive. Apparently, the Italian media has not offered a clarification so far. Cossiga's statement has not been reported by a U.S. newspaper or on any TV channel, as far as I'm aware. Raising doubts among Americans about their own government is not a strong point of the corporate media. Americans live in a world of propaganda designed to secure their acquiescence to war crimes, torture, searches and police state tactics, military aggression, hegemony and oppression, while portraying Americans and Israelis as the salt of the earth, who are threatened by Muslims, who hate their freedom and democracy. Americans cling to this truth even now, while the Bush regime and a complicit Congress destroy the Bill of Rights and engineer the theft of elections once again. Freedom and democracy in America have been reduced to no-fly lists, spying without warrants, arrests without warrants or evidence, permanent detention despite the constitutional protection against unreasonable searches and seizures, the trashing of habeas corpus, and the list goes on and on and on. So that was the article I wanted to share with you, and thanks for listening.